This is the third part of D block elements, and today we are going to discuss some important questions related to various properties of D block elements. So let us start with the first question. Why does copper possess a positive standard electrode potential and fail to liberate hydrogen from non-oxidizing acids? Okay, so you know that copper's standard electrode potential is plus 0.34 volt. And whenever we write the reaction like copper plus say dilute H2SO4 or HCl, we say that there is no liberation of hydrogen, right? But if you write zinc plus HCl, then there is liberation of hydrogen. Okay, that means copper is less reactive when compared to hydrogen, right? That's what we say. And here, this has this positive electrode potential. Okay, whereas if you see the other elements of 3D series, they have negative electrode potential. So why it has positive? See, when we convert this Cu solid to Cu2 plus aqueous, it's not only one single process. First, this has to be converted to gas form, right? Then the ionization process has to take place. So, two ionizations will be there, 1 and 2, right? So, all these will require energy. That means the energy value will be positive here, right? And ultimately, when you convert that Cu2 plus gas into Cu2 plus aqueous, that is hydration energy, and this hydration energy is negative because it is released, right? So when this quantity becomes more than the sum of all these initial energies, then we get the negative electrode potential. But here what happens, the sum of positive values is more when compared to the negative value of hydration energy. Okay, so here the high energy required to transform Cu to Cu2 plus is not sufficiently balanced by its hydration enthalpy. That is the answer. Okay, next. The E0 value, M2 plus M, values for manganese, nickel and zinc are more negative than expected from the general trend. What explains the anomalous value for nickel? Okay, so when you consider the standard electrode potential values, say if you consider manganese, manganese has 3D5 4s2 configuration, and if it has to get converted to Mn2 plus, it will get 3D5, which is half filled, right? So it is going to stable configuration, means the process is easy. Okay, so it will become more negative than expected, the value. And zinc also, when you consider, it is 3D10 4s2, and when it becomes Zn2 plus, it is 3D10, again completely filled configuration. So for these two we have these stable configuration reasons. Okay, but in case of nickel we don't have that reason. It is 3D8 4s2, so nickel 2 plus means you will get 3D8, right? But even then it is observed that it is more negative than expected. Okay, so whenever this negative value is more, okay, other than these half filled or completely filled reasons, so it is always due to hydration enthalpy. Okay, so nickel possesses the highest negative enthalpy of hydration. That's the reason for it. Next, when examining E0 values, now for M3 plus M2 plus, okay, the comparatively low value for iron and the comparatively high value for manganese indicate that. See, when you consider iron, okay, see, it is M3 plus M2 plus, so I'll consider Fe2 plus. So Fe2 plus is 3D6. So if I want to convert it into Fe3 plus by removing one electron, it will become 3D5. Right. That means this process is easy because it will attain stable configuration. Okay. So the E0 value will be low here. Fine. And the comparatively high value for manganese. So when I consider Mn2 plus itself is 3d5. Okay. So when it becomes actually Mn3 plus, it will have this 3d4, which it doesn't want to have. Correct? Because it is more stable here itself in Mn2 plus. Okay. So this conversion will be difficult. So the value will be high. Okay. So the reason here is Fe3 plus is extra stable due to D5, while Mn2 plus is stable for the same reason, means in that particular state itself it is stable. Next, which copper 2 halide is not known to exist and what is the chemical reason for its absence? See, when we consider copper 2 halides, CuI2 does not exist. Okay, that's the fact. And why it is? It is because Cu2 plus oxidizes I minus to I2 here. So this compound will not remain stable. Okay, we have studied about halogens. There we said that the tendency of I minus to I2 is more, right, than reverse. Okay, I2 is very less reactive, but this process happens quickly. Okay, so the moment Cu2 plus exists, it oxidizes I minus to I2. So the compound is not known to exist. Next, many copper 1 compounds are unstable in aqueous solution and undergo disproportionation into Cu2 plus and Cu. Why is Cu2 plus ultimately more stable than Cu plus? See, when you consider actually this copper, you have 3d10 4s1. So when I take Cu plus, it is 3d10. Cu2 plus is actually 3d9. Right. So if we look at the configuration, Cu plus is more stable. Okay. But this is true in gas phase. Okay. Because ionization we consider in gas phase. But when you consider in solution or aqueous phase, hydration energy comes into picture. Okay. So you know that higher the charge, here Cu2 plus has higher charge. So hydration energy is more for this. Okay. Higher the charge and lesser the size, hydration energy is more, and that will stabilize the Cu2 plus compounds. Okay. So here much more negative hydration enthalpy of Cu2 plus more than compensates for the second ionization enthalpy. That means here actually it is difficult to remove one more electron, but hydration energy will be much more than that. Next, fluorine has a strong ability to stabilize the highest oxidation states of transition metals because fluorine is electronegative, highly electronegative, right? How is this stabilization achieved in COF3 compared to VF5? So when you consider the COF3, this is in +3 state and cobalt comes after this manganese, right? So up to manganese, you will have increase in oxidation states, so up to +7. And then when you come to the elements after manganese, higher oxidation states will reduce, correct? So here CO is in +3. And VF5, this vanadium is coming before manganese, so lower ones, so that is having +5. Okay. So you know that higher the charge, it means that it becomes difficult to remove the electrons and to form ionic bond. So they prefer to form covalent bond. Right. And here this being +3, this forms ionic bond. Okay. So always ionic bond is related to lattice energy and this is related to bond enthalpy. Okay. So here the reason is higher lattice energy for COF3 and higher covalent bond enthalpy for VF5. Okay. So the compounds will become stable. Next, oxygen exhibits a superior ability compared to fluorine to stabilize the highest oxidation states of transition metals. For example, when you take manganese with oxygen, it can form Mn2O7, but with fluorine, it won't form this MnF7. Okay, it is only F4. So, what is the structural reason for oxygen superiority? So, here one reason is oxygen can form these double bonds, right? Or multiple bonds, we say. So, that is the reason for it. And here, what happens if all are single bonds? Say in MnF7 when I take. So 7 fluorine atoms should be there around manganese, which is very difficult to accommodate. Okay. So that's the reason why it won't form that F7. It will form only F4. But here it is Mn2O7. There will be 2 Mn. Okay. So in between there will be one oxygen like this. And then it can form double bonds like this. Okay. So that is the structural reason here. Oxygen has the ability to form multiple bonds. Next, what happens to ferrates? That means in +6 oxidation state here, which are formed in alkaline media. See, usually when you take iron compounds, maximum oxidation state will be +3. Okay, maximum stable oxidation state will be +3, like in Fe2O3. Okay, but in alkaline media, this is formed. Okay, but it is formed for a moment and it readily decomposes to form Fe2O3 and O2. Okay, so it decomposes to form these two things. Next, based on the E0 values, again M3 plus M2 plus, which of the following pairs of ions act as strong reducing agents capable of liberating hydrogen from dilute acids? So, reducing agent means they undergo oxidation. Right. So, here we need to see such ions which can undergo oxidation. That's the first thing we have to do. So see, for option A, when you see Cu2 plus, that itself is highest. It cannot go further. Zn2 plus also, right? Then B, when you consider, you have Ti2 plus. It can go to higher states, right? So +3, +4. Then chromium also, +2 is there. So it can go to higher oxidation states. That means this can act as reducing agents, right? But next, see, when you consider Fe3 plus, that itself is highest. This also scandium can form only +3, right? Then Mn3 plus. So Mn3 plus can undergo, but CO3 plus cannot, right? So this pair is the right answer. Next, a specific transition metal complex exhibits a magnetic moment exactly 1.73 Bohr magneton based on the spin-only formula. What can be definitively concluded about the metal ion? See, spin-only formula is mu is equal to square root of n into n plus 2. Right, the answer comes in Bohr magneton. Here n is the number of unpaired electrons. Okay, and if you observe while calculating, if you get the answer like 1.73 Bohr magneton, then the number of unpaired electrons will be 1, this number. Okay, if you get 2 point something, then the value of n will be 2. If you get 3 point something, then the value of n will be 3. Fine, so you have to look at the number before this decimal. Okay, so here we can say that it possesses exactly one unpaired electron. Next, when a transition metal ion in an aqueous solution absorbs visible light, an electron is excited from a lower energy d orbital to higher energy d orbital by absorbing the energy. Okay, the specific color that we observe in the solution is, So here, you know that whenever certain light is, or the wavelength of light is absorbed, the complementary color will be visible, right? So it is the complementary color of the light that was absorbed by the ion. So you can find out that complementary color by writing this triangle. So here we are writing Vibjor. Okay, so you're not writing indigo here because that will be combining with this violet. Okay, so to find out complementary color, in any case, just you have to take the opposite color here. So to violet, it is yellow. Okay, so to green, it is red, blue, orange, like that. Or sometimes it will be a mixture, like something like orangish red, yellowish red. Okay, so that can also be there. So that will come in between. Yes, next. Transition metals are known for forming a vast array of complex compounds such as PtCl4 2-, which specific combination of traits is responsible for this ability. Okay, so this is about complex forming tendency. So we observe complexes for D block elements. That is because of what? Their small size, high charge, and availability of d orbitals, right? So smaller the size, higher is the charge. What happens? The charge density will increase. Okay, as the charge density increases, they can attract the ligands. Okay, and also availability of d orbitals will make them to accommodate the electrons from the ligands. Okay, so that is the answer. So that's all for today, students. Stay tuned for more. Please like, share, and turn on the notifications. Thank you.